Hi guys, this is Nathan Tusi, and I am totally and outrageously pumped because my new trading computer just walked into the door and I'm in the middle of getting it set up. It's pretty sick. It has about the best processor in the world and three 23-inch LCD screens that are going to mount on my desk in the office. So I'm so unfocused on analysis right now I can't even describe it. But nonetheless, we're going to go through our analysis today. We're going to set up some good trades, and then I'm going to execute those on my sick new trading computer. All right. So first of all, let's go over the news. Tomorrow we do have some news. Today was some US and CAD news, and you saw how the market moved. Let's look at tomorrow's calendar. All right. So tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. there's US dollar building permits. Building permits, maybe not the hugest of announcements, but again, anything that's red tag can certainly affect the market. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then at 10 and 10:30, there's more red tagged news. Oh, and 11:15, that's Bank of Canada news. So definitely a lot of news in the New York session tomorrow. If you're trading the New York session like I do, keep an eye out for all that news. The market should be moving relatively interestingly. And as we'll look at today, you can see that the USDCAD has already been pretty interesting and pretty whippy. So the news is probably going to do nothing but add to that tomorrow during the New York session. So make sure that you are aware of that news. All right, let's check out our terms. This is very important for you guys to understand. We're not licensed or qualified to provide investment advice. This is only our opinions about Forex trading. It's for educational purposes only. The U.S. government is very strict about this, so make sure that you understand these rules, these terms, these conditions. Okay, it's very important. All right, let's jump into our analysis. Today, like I said, the market certainly was moving in some interesting ways. We had a lot of fun trading in the office here at Winter's Edge because it was definitely interesting to see some of the reversals and some of the spikes that were happening. One thing that you see here, I'm looking at right now, is the euro dollar and how the euro dollar looked like it was going to be just an absolutely massive bearish bar earlier in the day, but actually ended up continuing this rounding motion back to the top. So, the top of the candle has not filled out. It's not a very bullish end, but it's looking to be, a little bit bullish overall as it rounds down. Now, it is at this key level. You see the bottom of our channel here, so that's obviously some downward resistance there. But if this rounding continues, we could see some serious rallying for the euro dollar. So definitely keep your eye on that. Of course, I'm not convinced in euro strength. I can't imagine that the euro strength really can follow through. But just because I'm biased about euro does not mean that I'm going to let that deter my trading. If the technical signals line up, I'm going to trade long on the euro because that's what my trading plan says, and that's what I'm convinced to do based on technical signs. And I think that that's one of the keys of trading. If you can just let your opinions not actually affect your trading, you'll probably be a lot better off. Now, I have a lot of opinions, and I think that they're worthy of talking about or whatever. But when it comes to seeing a technical sign that follows your trading plan, it's you have a plan for a reason, so you got to follow that plan. And just because you might be overwhelmingly bearish on euro does not mean that euro is not going to rise. Okay, so that's something that's important to keep in mind. And of course, I'm not predicting that euro is going to rise, but I'm just letting you know that this rounding little pattern that we have here, if it continues to follow through, is actually going to be a really nice bullish setup. All right, let's look at pound dollar. Now, pound dollar was one that Casey was short on earlier. As it crashed and got up big in a hurry. I think he got it locked in for a few positive pips before it reversed, and he ended up getting stopped out for a small gain. That's on the copier account. So those of you who are copying probably made a few bucks on that. Obviously, if you were copying, you made a lot of money on the euro pound trade that we'll get into later. But the pound dollar was just like the euro. It started out bearish, looking like it was going to crack some lows and head back down to our level that we're looking at here off this trend line. But it didn't do that. So one interesting thing to note is that this bar did not quite touch our trend line here. You see this? It was low of our trend line. Now this bar did touch our trend line. So if we get a bear signal off this bar, that's actually going to be a higher quality setup than the one we saw today. Not that I'm bashing Casey's trade setups, because obviously he took a great, I think it was a 4-hour entry, and got up pretty big in a hurry. Unfortunately, he didn't close out as much profit as he could have, but it ended up being still a positive trade. But anyway, the point is, when you're looking at trend lines and they're headed in the downward direction, obviously like this one is, a better bearish signal is going to be one that's followed by an actual touch of the line, like today's candle. So if tomorrow we have a bearish candle, I'm going to be very interested in taking a sell and targeting the bottom of this level. Okay, so keep your eye on that. This is actually good trading conditions. I think that over the past, I don't know, I guess for the most month of July, I haven't seen a lot of trade setups because things have kind of been in the middle of ranges and not really trade ideas or trade setups that I wanted to mess with. But now it seems like it's a little more in a technical flow, and there's a little better trade setups. And so I'm actually really enjoying some of the trade opportunities that we're getting, and definitely willing to take some of those as well. Okay, let's look at US yen. US yen is one of the pairs that really hasn't broken out of the channel. Let me highlight this channel better. I actually accidentally changed my charts, and so my colors got messed up. Let me make this nice and pink. There we go. Now we can see it. Okay, so US yen still is in this channel, but based on the market getting a little more flow lately, a little more defined direction, I think that it's only a matter of time before US yen breaks out of this channel. I think we're only a few days away, even though we've been in it for quite some time. Obviously, this is very choppy conditions. It's broke out the bottom to some extent, but come right back in, and now it's near the bottom again. Now, with the overall momentum of the recent days being down, a breakout to the bottom, I think, would be a higher quality setup. So that's something that I'd be particularly interested in taking a short on, because it wouldn't surprise me if the yen kind of rallied and had some strength to it. So obviously that would be US dollar short. Now the downside is that the US dollar is remaining relatively strong across the board lately. I mean, obviously the euro dollar has fallen significantly, even though it rallied somewhat over the past few days. Same with the pound dollar, same with the AUD dollar, and the US yen is kind of chopping in the middle. But USD isn't something that I particularly would like to short. But if it's against the yen and the yen is rallying, I think that could be a pretty high quality long-term short. So break of that channel will be something that I'm definitely looking at. And I'd advise that you draw that channel and take a look at that as well. Okay, AUD US dollar I just mentioned. AUD for the most part has been down in recent months. Okay, so we see that once we got up to this high at 107.50, the overall downtrend has been down. Now, obviously, AUD is a lot stronger than euro or pound, so it has rallied to some extent, as we see here. But overall, still in a bearish trend. Now, if we could rally up, say, to the top of this channel, which we're not too far away of, we might think that AUD actually is starting to be long-term bullish. But again, we need some continuation. Now, I'm not saying that it needs to break this level in order to make a trade, but just to change my mind about the long-term trend. As a matter of fact, I think that we're at a high enough level right now to be interested in trading it. The only problem is that if you take into account kind of the trend where it's at now, it doesn't have a whole lot of room to head up before we're expecting a retrace and a continuation. So maybe it's a little overextended. This inside bar actually would have probably been a better place to get long on it. But nonetheless, I think there's going to be some more trade opportunities in the upward direction for AUD dollar, assuming that AUD remains one of the stronger currencies across the board, which it definitely has since the end of May. Okay, so keep in mind AUD is definitely one of your stronger pairs since May. That's why the Euro AUD is something that I was so interested in taking short. Euro weakness combined with the AUD strength over the past few months was just an excellent matchup. Something that just provided a great crash and tons of pips. I know that Casey hit a 20% trade on the year, 19. Let me be honest, 19.3% or something on his personal account. Not the one that fell in the copier, unfortunately, because the trade he took was probably a little too much risk for the copier account. But it turned out to be a 19+% trade on the Euro AUD. So I know that he was loving that matchup. And I really was too. I didn't get the pips that he got out of it, but still a great opportunity. And when you have a currency that's strong versus a currency that's falling apart that much, and you compare those together like you can in Forex, obviously, you really have great opportunities. Let me mention while I'm still looking at this odd chart real quick, I forgot to even mention that this little zone that we were talking about before in the yellow here was broke. So this is actually breaking a pretty significant level, even though it doesn't look like much. So keep an eye on the bullishness of the odd in that situation as well. All right, USDCAD I mentioned that we take a look at. Now again, the news today was a little bit interesting. I think that overall it was slightly more bullish for the Canadian dollar than it was the US dollar. You can obviously see that we ended up with a bearish candle. However, I'm not convinced that the news set us up for any kind of long-term movement. So, in my opinion, tomorrow's news could either certainly continue this, but could also definitely reverse it. So I didn't think that we're really set on track for a long-term move. Now, of course, one question you have to ask yourself is, with the trade setup that we have right now, is this long-term bullish, or because it's been down since the end of May, kind of like odd has been up since the end of May, is it longer-term bearish? And I don't know which one you're going with. Are you going with this rally, or are you going with this rally? It kind of depends on which way you look at it. If you're going with these very significant double tops and looking at it heading downward, and you're overall bearish on the currency pair, then you might not be able to to justify any long positions. However, if you're looking at it and saying, well, this is really my guideline, this recent long behavior on US dollar, and this is just a very larger tracement, well, then you might see, a bounce off a support level and think that a long is really a great position. So it definitely does depend on what you're looking at with this situation. But I think that there's trades in either direction. I don't think that this is something where there's such an obvious trend that you have to say, I'm either long or short based on the signals that I receive. I think either technical signal could line up for USDCAD. By the way, Tony just said to look at the monthly chart for USDCAD. It's only halfway through the month, but he said that there's a pretty obvious sign going on in the monthly. Let's see. Okay, so I think he's referring to the tail on the USDCAD monthly and how I was talking about sentiment. Well, obviously, if you look at the monthly, it's definitely a bearish sentiment. But we see that we do have somewhat of a trend line here, and definitely getting continuation on the monthly chart. So if you're looking quite long term, the USDCAD monthly is showing some serious bearish signals. As Tony pointed out here, this is a good continuation tail. Now, again, we're only halfway through the month, so it's going to depend on how that follows through. But obviously, if you're interested in, in taking a long-term position, we could point out that the most recent low on the monthly chart is about 656 pips away. So that's large pips, and that's always what we're looking for. So keep in mind the long-term sentiment, at least in terms of the monthly chart, is definitely bearish. All right, let's look at a few more pairs here. Euro pound is the one that I want to look at. Now, this is a trade that we took on the copier, and it turned out to be a really great trade. We took it on the break of this descending triangle, as you can see here, obviously in the bearish direction, and got quite a bit of pips at it. It ended up being a little over 7% of the account for the trade, so a pretty successful trade. But what happened was, even though we're still definitely in bearish terms, we're worried about a double bottom turnaround, so we tightened up the stop quite a bit, and today's bar just kind of touched our stop and knocked us out, which is unfortunate because we were up in the 10% range net profit at some points, and ended up settling for 7, not quite the full 10, but still obviously a 7% trade is something to be happy about, especially because kind of this 7% mark here is really what we strive for on a monthly basis. We say 7 to 12, and 12 is certainly a very significant month. That's the higher end of the month, but a 7% a month is a great number, because if you consistently hit 7% per month with compounding interest, you will over double your account in a given year. Now that's with compounding. Obviously 7 times 12 is only 72%, but when you take into account the compounding interest, it's actually over double your account. And obviously, when you talk about doing 100% a year, you're so far out of the realm of reasonability when compared to bank accounts and other things like that, that you could not possibly not be happy with 100% per year return. That's just totally out of this world good. And I think that sometimes as Forex traders we get these crazy ideas about doubling our accounts every week, because some of the marketing out there that you hear from certain people, but also just because it's so easy in some cases to make a ton of money. Now, obviously, it's even easier to lose all that money, but it is very possible to make 20%, in one trade, because you can load up your size, you can use leverage. But what you have to realize is that that's not regular, that's not to be expected, and it's certainly going to be followed up with some losses to counterbalance it. So that 7% a month number is really a great number to aim for, in my opinion. Okay, let's see. The Euro odd, that's the one that I was talking about with this the matchup, and you can see right away the collapse that I'm talking about since May. This is the end of May, or this is the beginning of May, right? Well, no, this is the middle of May. Okay, middle of May, excuse me. This is the middle of May, and so obviously since the middle of May, it's a total collapse. Tons of euro weakness, tons of odd strength. That's what you end up with, a total fall and record lows, okay? Now, one thing to note is that today, with this tail, we actually touched record lows again. So, each week we're touching newer and newer lows, and it does not look like the euro odd is going to stop. Even with some euro bullishness today, the odd still was much stronger, and we ended up with a very nice bearish bar. So, this is a pair. I mean, it's hard to take a sell right now on the euro odd because it's just so overextended. But at the same time, when something's so weak compared to something that's much stronger, it really can run just for amazing amounts of time in this market. So, again, I wouldn't necessarily suggest taking a short when it's this low, but any type of retraces and continuations to me are going to be high probability short setups. So, I'd look for those if I were you. Okay, I think that's about it for the analysis today. Hopefully this was helpful to you. I kind of went over things a little bit quickly today. Maybe I'm excited about my trading computer and a little bit adrenaline filled, but I kind of ran through a lot of different pairs, threw out some levels, threw out some trade signals, and if you need clarification on any of those, please just send a message, via a comment, or you can send it to support or whatever. But use those comments to get some conversation, and certainly ask any questions or clarification about these trading signals. But other than that, I think that's about it. Oh, one thing I wanted to note: you should have received an email today about Winner's Edge hiring traders. If you didn't, the deal is that we're hiring traders, possibly to manage our fund. And there's a lot of details kind of that I can't all explain in here, but the idea is it's either for traders who are very confident and able to trade profitably, or if you want to use it as a mentoring program, and we'll teach you how to trade, and you can use our funds to advance. Obviously, you start a demo account, and then we train you to so you don't have to actually risk any of your own money. But anyway, there's a lot of details with that. I'll actually post a link below this video for that if for some reason you missed that video. But it's an opportunity that we're planning on starting, trying to gauge the interest for that right now. So make sure you click on that and watch that video if you're interested in that. Okay, now I think that is all. And thank you very much for your time. Again, leave a comment, any questions, any clarifications you need, and I'll talk to you very soon.